Hello Cowboys Nation, welcome to another video, and without further ado, let's get to another round of news from America's team. NFL insider intimates Micah Parsons' back tightness situation will linger over Cowboys this season. The Dallas Cowboys are going to play a football game in 10 days. With all due respect to the preseason, we are talking about a real football game. The results will be documented in the standings and history books, you get the picture. Dallas will visit the Philadelphia Eagles, who are arguably the best team in the NFL. The fact that they are going to raise a Super Bowl banner corroborates this idea. It is unknown whether the best player on the Cowboys roster will be a part of the festivities. We are all aware of the fact that the Cowboys are in contract negotiations with Micah Parsons. These negotiations have, like they did with CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, rippled through the Oxnard portion of training camp and the entire preseason. Prescott was infamously signed on the day that the season began in 2024. Lamb came 13 days prior to that. As noted, the countdown clock reads 10 days at our current moment in time, in case you wanted perspective. The Cowboys won their opener last year, so the Lamb and Prescott situations did not seem to be issues, although things got bumpy after that for the team overall. Parsons has not taken part in any on-field work to this point, which has cast doubt on his availability in terms of the season. This is something that Adam Schefter discussed during Monday's edition of Get Up. Schefter also brought up the back tightness that Parsons has reportedly been dealing with. Even if he were out there a week from Thursday night, which there are certainly no assurances or indications he will be right now, he's going to be limited at best. Micah Parsons could not go in and play a full football game next Thursday night. And, again, the Dallas Cowboys say an MRI on his back came back clean. He says there's still back tightness. A hard thing to argue with. And I have a feeling that these types of issues may hang over this team and this situation this season. From a technical standpoint, Parsons has been missing time with the back tightness in question. Schefter notes that an MRI came back on this that suggested all was well from a medical standpoint, but Schefter put it well in saying that it is a hard thing to argue with. If Parsons feels his back is tight, and so tight that he can't play, that would lead to more tightness and tension between him and the organization. Consider that following last week's preseason finale, Trayvon Diggs, who was recently activated off of the PUP list himself, was asked if he thinks Parsons is going to play in the season opener. Diggs noted that it all depends on his back. If it isn't obvious, this is where the next inflection point lies within this whole saga. The Cowboys could argue that Parsons' back is fine from a medical perspective, but Micah could note that it still feels tight and that he is unable to play. As Schefter noted, this is hard to prove one way or the other. Without making any direct accusations here, it stands to reason that Parsons' back tightness would be taken care of once a contract extension is taken care of, if that isn't obvious by now, which is why the next 2 weeks could get messy. Maybe even messier than everything to this point. We are approaching that fork in the road, and if an extension isn't taken care of, it is going to be interesting to see what each side of the negotiations do next. 8 Cowboys who could be cut this week, including a former first-rounder. The Dallas Cowboys have until Tuesday, August 26, at 4 p.m. Eastern Time to cut the roster to 53. By Wednesday, waiver claims will be processed, and practice squads will begin to form. The next few hours will be critical for bubble players and their careers. Defensive tackle Mazi Smith, pedigree versus production. The Cowboys drafted Mazi Smith in the first round to be a long-term run defender. His preseason showed power flashes but also inconsistency holding ground. Dallas faces the question, patience or roster spot. Defensive tackle Perrion Winfrey, UFL energy inside. Perrion Winfrey has flashed quickness and penetration ability in camp. Only 25 years old, cheaper contract, and moldable, exactly the type of player who sticks around in some form. Defensive end James Houston, sack artist or specialist. James Houston is a known pass rush specialist. The problem, game day depth is usually reserved for players who can also contribute on special teams. Running back Miles Sanders, veteran at a crossroads. Miles Sanders is the most established name on this list, but his injuries and contract complicate things. If cut, he immediately becomes a free agent, bypassing waivers. Dallas could bring him back under a veteran practice squad slot if they want depth insurance. Running back Deuce Vaughn, the gadget back. Deuce Vaughn brings unique value in space and on returns, but his size and role limitations put him in danger if the Cowboys keep only 3 running backs. Offensive lineman Asim Richards, swing tackle in jeopardy. Asim Richards has versatility, but the Cowboys could look for better swing depth on waivers. If he's cut, his youth and draft pedigree make him a prime practice squad candidate. Wide receiver Trayshawn Holden, flashy but risky. Trayshawn Holden stood out with tough catches and physicality. But if he can't prove himself on special teams, he'll be fighting for the wide receiver 6 job against Ryan Flournoy. Wide receiver Ryan Flournoy, draft investment matters. Ryan Flournoy brings size, blocking, and draft capital. In a tight race, that investment could give him the edge over Holden for the final wide receiver spot. Seahawks predicted to bolster D-line in trade for former first-round pick. With the NFL roster cut deadline looming, the Dallas Cowboys are reportedly evaluating a strategic move, trading defensive tackle Mazi Smith before finalizing their 53-man roster. Despite being a 2023 first-round pick, Smith has yet to deliver the production Dallas envisioned, and mounting roster pressure could make this an opportune moment to part ways. Analysts, including ESPN's Bill Barnwell, have floated a potential deal sending Smith and a 2026 sixth-round pick to the Seattle Seahawks in exchange for a 2026 fifth-rounder. This move would help the Cowboys avoid the optics of cutting a first-rounder outright and instead salvage draft value while freeing cap space, possibly saving over $4 million. Smith has struggled to stick in Dallas's defensive rotation and hasn't shown consistent production. Trading him would provide clarity on the roster, open a roster spot, and give the team flexibility to allocate resources elsewhere, especially as they fortify the defensive line. Projections show depth at DT remains a concern, but this move could accelerate internal competition.